All right, I can squeeze in here. Step that way and I'll squeeze in this way. All right, there you go. You're good. She was asking if you were live.
Is that live?
It looks like it. Those two ladies are just sitting
I see
down.
where he is live, but let me confirm that we got it.
Shoot, where did I put my drink? Did I not bring my drink back here? Crap. Steph, do me a big favor because I'm afraid I don't have time to do this. Back in my office. I'm hoping on one of the desks is my red cup. It says for Zim on the side. If it's not there, then I don't know where it is. But
Okay, we've got almost a 2-minute warning here. If people want to get settled, and I would love it if you would sit closer rather than farther away.
I think this is. Sorry, it's not usually this tight in here. This isn't usually here.
All right, is everybody ready? All right, good evening. And on behalf of the St. Louis League of Women Voters and our host of the Kirkwood School District, and particularly Steph Peters, who does a really good job here, welcome to this forum. And I believe that the district YouTube station is going to be streaming this, and there will be a recording available. My name is Kathleen Farrell, and I'm going to be your moderator tonight. And I'd like to thank the candidates for participating. And you can elect 2 candidates for 3-year terms, correct? And they are in order as they appear on the ballot. Ms. Judy Botica, is that correct? Ms. Lisa Newman, and Mr. Ryan Rowe. Now, I want to tell you, if you were expecting Mr. Davis, he has withdrawn from the race. He provided a written letter to the district on March 5th, but his name is still going to appear on your ballot, so I don't want you to be confused by that, because he withdrew too late in terms of the printing of the ballot, okay? So, here's what we're going to do. The candidates are going to give their opening statements in that order that I just announced, and their closing statements in the reverse order. So we'll start with you. The League believes that one of the best ways for voters to learn about the people who say they're going to represent them to decide how education will be delivered to the district's children is to have them speak and answer your questions in an engaged public forum. It looks to me like we're going to have an engaged public forum. We're going to lots of school districts, and I can tell you that unrest is afoot. And some people are saying that it is impossible to have a civil conversation on the issues given the divisions among us. I don't think that's going to happen tonight. I think you're all here because you care about your schools and you want to make a reasoned decision before you vote. So the following rules are going to help us achieve that goal together. Candidates are going to have 2 minutes each for an opening statement. Then they're going to have 1 minute to answer each question. They're going to have the right to speak to all questions, even if they are specifically posed to an individual candidate. I'm going to tweak the question so that everyone can answer it. And then they will have probably 1 minute for a final statement, because we only have an hour, and I had 60 questions before I walked in the door, and I want to ask as many as I can. So I'm grateful that they agreed to that. Now, here's your job. If you haven't already submitted a question, and I was told that a number of people submitted questions 1 hour before the forum, and because I was driving from the big bad city of St. Louis, I didn't see those. And if you're here tonight, please write them again, because I didn't see them. Apparently there were 4. Write questions of general interest to the future of the district and what's going on there. And because it's sort of dark in here, when you're done, 1 question per card, raise your hands and wave them, and one of our volunteers will go collect them and bring them to me. So I'm going to retain the option, and I can tell you there are a lot of similar questions. And so I've put some of these together for you. Audio and videotapes are fine of this meeting, although I think a videotape would be sort of tough out here. And we determined what questions will be asked, and the candidates have not seen any questions before we started. So, is everybody ready? Just one last thing. As much as you may like or dislike something that somebody is saying, if you would hold your applause until I call for it, we'll get more questions in. Fair enough? All right. Then let us start with the first opening statement. And that is you, Ms. Motiva.
Good evening. Thank you, voters, and for all of you for coming out tonight. 3 years ago, I spoke about my commitment to children and education through my work as a teacher, a court-appointed special advocate for kids in foster care, and as a mom and grandma. Now I can add school board member to my experience. My first term on the board has been exhilarating, challenging, and some of the most meaningful work I've ever done. My belief in the importance of public schools has only deepened, and my commitment to our schools, our kids, and our staff has never wavered. The next 3 years will be exciting for the district. Welcoming our new superintendent, developing our next 5-year strategic plan, and I believe that my experience as a board member, as well as my ability to listen to all parties, make me the right person to be in this role. I'm eager to continue the work we've done while honoring the traditions Kirkwood holds dear and creating opportunities for growth and innovation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Newman, by the way, the timekeeper is right at the front, and you all can see those, right? Okay. It does matter. It does matter. You're next.
Good evening. My name is Lisa Neiman, and I'm really excited to be here today to discuss how we can build on the district's strong foundation to strengthen and expand it for the future. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for hosting this important event, to Judy and to Ryan, and to everyone who is joining us here tonight, both in person and virtually. Kirkwood is a place that is near and dear to my heart. My husband Ted and I both grew up in the area, and after several years in Washington, D.C., we decided to return to Kirkwood so our children could experience the same strong education that we were fortunate enough to have. I have a deep-rooted passion for ensuring that our district continues to thrive, not just today, but for the generations to come. Serving on the school board is important to me because at my core, I'm a public servant. I spent 15 years working for the federal government, including leading policy development in the U.S. Senate. In that role, I oversaw billions of dollars in federal spending, I conducted audits and investigations, and I helped shape impactful policy. Currently, I serve as a data and analytics attorney at a financial services firm. This combination of policy, oversight, and legal experience positions me well to serve as a responsible and effective school board member. But my proudest achievement is as a mom. I've had children in the Kirkwood School District for the past 12 years, which helped me get to know our schools and contribute to it in meaningful ways. I served as PTO president of both KECC and in North Glendale. I was a representative on the Master Facility Planning Committee, and most importantly, I've been an engaged parent who values and supports our incredible teachers and students. My focus will be on building educational excellence for all. For students, that means providing the individual attention that they need to thrive. For our families, it's about strengthening the connection between both home and the school so that we can empower our children. And for our teachers, it's about ensuring that they have the resources, your time is set. Oh, sorry. Thank you so much.
Sure. Mr. Rowe.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. And also thank you to the League of Women Voters.
Closer to the mic.
Thank you. Thank you, Kathleen, for moderating this tonight. I feel honored to be sharing the same table with two fellow Kirkwoodians who care so much about the district. So I want to say, friends, neighbors, fellow Kirkwood residents, we're here today because we share that deep commitment to our children and the future of this community. A strong public school system is the cornerstone of a thriving community, and I want to share my vision for ensuring Kirkwood schools will remain a source of pride for all of us. First and foremost, we have to be unwavering in our commitment to academic rigor and excellence. We need to ensure our children receive top-notch education grounded in fundamentals. It also means preparing our students for the challenges of the future with a robust curriculum in science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and the arts. We want our graduates to be competitive, well-prepared, and ready to succeed. Our classrooms should be places where students and teachers feel secure, respected, and focused on learning. Furthermore, we have to be responsible stewards of taxpayer dollars. Fiscal responsibility and the efficient use of resources are not just good ideas, they're imperatives. Every dollar we spend must be carefully considered with focus on maximizing the impact of student achievement. We need to prioritize the classroom, ensuring that resources are directed where they matter most, our teachers and students. Finally, a successful school district requires strong partnership between parents, teachers, and the community. Parental involvement is critical. Parents are the children's first and most important teachers, and their voices must be heard. We need to foster open communication and encourage parents to be active participants in their children's
Your
education.
time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to start the first question with you, Ms. Neiman. I got it. You're right, it is misspelled. And here's the first question, and I got this from three folks. The school board will soon be working on the district's next 5-year strategic plan. What do you think are the three most important goals for that plan and why? You can answer that one.
Thank you. I think that's a wonderful question. The strategic plan that the district develops every 5 years is really important in making sure that we keep our focus on the key issues that are important. The three areas that I think would be priorities for that list would include ensuring that we're protecting the safety of our students, of our educators, and of our families. That would include both the physical security of the building as well as the emotional supports needed for our schools. I would also include educational excellence. That is extremely important for us to make sure that we're continuing to push ourselves and push our children to strive to be better. Finally, as a third point, I would make sure that we included the ability for us to support our teachers in ways that ensure that they can give those to our students.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rowe.
So I think, first and foremost, I agree with the assertion that safety should be first and foremost. I think academic excellence is also should be a priority for the district. And then I think last, the community engagement is a component of the current strategy that should continue to be prioritized in the future. I think some additional things that the district could do in regards to safety is strengthen some of the knowledge and education around drug prevention, specifically the fentanyl issue that many of our communities outside here would face, but our students should know about those issues as some other districts are facing as well.
Thank you. Ms. Monica?
The strategic plan is the roadmap that everyone in the district uses, from teachers, from administrators, and it trickles down to the students. It's what we follow. And it's, each of the schools present to the board every year how they are upholding, how they are fulfilling the strategic plan. And it is amazing to see. So we need to keep building on innovations. We need to support academics. All of those are givens. We know that. But one of the things that we need to have in our strategic plan is clear measures. So we really know how our kids are doing from first grade, kindergarten, all the way to 12th grade. We've got to have very clear, understandable measures, and we can do that. That's not hard. But that's part of empowering our teachers and our students. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And we're going to start with you this time, Mr. Rowe. There were almost 10 questions about the U.S. Department of Education. They range from, do you think we should get rid of it, to what will happen if we get rid of it in terms of what Kirkwood students rely on it for. And I think that's the most important question. So, what will happen if the Department of Education is dissolved? How will that affect Kirkwood students, and what will you do about it?
So I think some of this is, I guess, first, I would not freak out about the dissolution of the Department of Education. I don't think that would necessarily be a good thing for the district, but I also think that the best decisions regarding our children's education, those decisions are made at the local level. And I think it's important to recognize that. I think, we have a room full of people here who I think recognize that many of these decisions belong at the local level. We've seen several iterations of No Child Left Behind and other similar programs, but those have varying degrees of success. But we've seen success at the local level, and that's where I think we need to focus.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Motina.
Well, someone who spent her entire adult life, several decades actually, in education, the thought of dissolving the Department of Education, the attacks on education, really hurt me. But we will survive no matter what happens. The Department of Education doesn't monitor curriculum. It distributes funds, it oversees, student loans, college student loans, all of that. The state is where the big decisions about curriculum are made. And one of the concerns that I have is the state is already looking at getting rid of 504 plans. We're struggling with the special school district with their financial issues. And what I know is that we have to, as a district, keep our kids' needs forefront. We need to make sure that we meet their needs no matter what the various
Your
governments
time
do.
is up. Thank you. Everybody would hold their applause. Ms. Neiman.
Changes to the Federal Department of Education will most certainly impact the district, but right now it's really not clear what those changes will be. Moving the authority to state departments of education could create some bumps, as they may not be prepared for the shift. Some of the key watch-outs that I think we should be looking for are impacts to our students with special needs, because of potential disruption in funding for those with 504 plan, and civil rights protections. Those would not be taken away, but there could be a shift at the federal level on which agency is responsible for enforcing those rights. As a member of the school board, I could leverage my strong public policy background to help think through some of those implications and develop strategies to be able to adapt to changes that would allow us to continue to meet our students' needs.
Okay, thank you very much. And we're going to start with you this time, Ms. Motika. And this question is a very specific one. Under the previous superintendent, the boundary adjustments were abandoned due to backlash. Currently, there's overcrowding in North Glendale and Kaiser Elementary schools, where students are in small and cramped spaces that were not originally intended for daily classroom use. On the other hand, Tillman has several large classrooms that are empty and are not being used for their intended purposes. What's your plan to try to create equity of space among elementary schools?
Right, I have PTSD right now. The boundary adjustments, let me just clear up a few things. The boundary adjustments were not abandoned because of backlash. They were the district decided not to go forward with them because the projections for enrollment said that within 5 years, the overcrowding at Kaiser and North Glendale would be alleviated. We don't know. A bunch of big families could move in and we'll need to juggle that again. There are no empty classrooms at Tillman. There are no empty spaces full of, boxes or whatever. Everything is being used. We are working very hard to make sure that if a school has tight borders, we are still meeting the needs of the kids, of the teachers, and of the families. Our teachers are doing an incredible job of making sure that our kids are done.
Sorry, okay, your time is up. Ms. Neiman.
Thank you. I know the districts and the redistricting and the boundaries are both a logistical concern and that they are a very personal topic. As a parent, I know which schools our kids go to, both elementary and middle schools, is really personal. We all have such pride in our schools, even though they really are all wonderful. Within the district, under Dr. Bailey's leadership, he really keeps a close eye on the enrollment data to be sure that we're prepared for any economic changes that could create fluctuations in our school. At all times, we need to be prepared to have the space and financial reserves to accommodate any residents that would like to attend Kirkwood schools. So as Ms. Motika mentioned, if it's new large families coming into the area or if it's people moving across the town, we need to be able to accommodate that, both from a financial standpoint and from a space standpoint. My understanding, I don't think that redistricting is currently being considered, but the administration could choose to revisit this issue at any time, and it would have to bring forward a proposal to the board. If that happens.
Thank you, your time is up.
Thank you.
Mr. Rowe.
So this is a largely, can have large personal impacts on families and students in the district. So I think it's important to establish that. I think the role of the board here is to prioritize the efficient use of our resources within the district, and the boundary adjustments can genuinely improve things like walkability or create smaller classroom sizes without increasing costs. Then the district should explore that. But any of these changes should be made through, should be made with thorough community input and a clear understanding of the long-term impact on neighborhoods.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to start with you this time, Ms. Neiman, is that right? Got it? And you're next. There were a number of questions about academic achievement. What is your largest concern about academic achievement in the district, and what do you want to do about it?
Delivering a rigorous curriculum is a priority on the current strategic plan, and it needs to continue to be a key focus for our students. One way that Dr. Grana is ensuring that the curriculum yields positive outcomes for students is by moving away from the biannual math testing and instead adopting the Success Ready Student Network. Now, that Success Ready Student Network is an approach that allows us to gather more real-time data on where students are so that we can continually push them and help them strive for more. So that academic achievement is extremely important, and we need to make sure that we are focusing on the individual needs of students so that we can both meet them where they are and allow them to continue to thrive.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rowe.
So I think my biggest concern is the executive order that Governor Kehoe signed on 28 January, which envisions incentives that are based on performance of schools and educational outcomes. With 3 years of decline in the Missouri Board of Education's benchmark composite score for measuring academic outcomes, I'm not confident that Kirkwood would fare well under such a model proposed by the new governor, especially while during the same 3 years, we saw that neighboring districts of comparable size demonstrating academic achievement based on the Board of Education's benchmark. So the districts have year-over-year improvement. So that's my biggest concern here, is that this could have an impact on the district's budget and restrict the ability to allocate resources to continuing
Time
that
is up.
improvement.
Thank you very much. We're going to start with you this time. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, Ms. Wilkie, go ahead.
Okay. So academic achievement is always an issue. It's always a concern, but we have been doing some amazing things over the past few years to attack that. We have a multi-tiered support system to catch kids early. We know right away if a kid is struggling, and we're going to get them the extra help they need, whether it's tier 1 within the classroom, tier 2, or tier 3, which is pull out extra supports. We have expanded early childhood education at KECC, and we have also made it possible with tuition assistance so more kids in the community can get that education. We have a Jump Start program for kindergartners, for summer school, kids who are identified as maybe they didn't get as much early childhood education in preschool. Catching kids early is the big key, because once a kid starts falling behind, you don't catch up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And let's start with you this time, Mr. Rowe. As you might imagine, there are a lot of questions about HAPI, and a lot of questions that relate to students, staff, et cetera, et cetera. What I've tried to do is to group these into different sub-issues that they cover. And here's the first one. According to the strategic plan, the mission of Kirkwood Schools is to equip students with the knowledge, skills, and understanding to be empathetic, successful, and value all people. The second priority of the plan is to achieve this mission is equity, diversity, and inclusion. How are you as a school board member planning to uphold our DEI initiatives in light of the federal and state Department of Education's directive to discontinue them?
So I think largely this goes back to what was mentioned earlier with regards to establishing metrics for the district and the strategy that help us measure progress. I think regardless of what's done at the state and federal level, when we can identify disparity in gaps for certain groups of children, then those are opportunities to reallocate resources, shift focus, allow teachers to address those specific situations in the classroom. Those are all things well outside the bounds of any federal or state policies that might come to play.
Thank you, Ms. Motika.
I always wonder who's opposed to diversity, equity, or inclusion. The world's made up of all sorts of people, genders, religions, races. Our public schools should reflect that. And diversity, equity, and inclusion includes ramps for wheelchairs. It includes elevators at elementary schools so kids and parents can get where they need to be. It includes hearing aids. Inclusion for differently abled kids. So we're going to do that. This matters. This is who we are as a community, is valuing everyone, making sure there's safe spaces for everyone. And we will do that because that's what we should be doing.
All right, Ms. Neiman.
Kirkwood has long placed a strong emphasis on DEI initiatives, which include things like holding minority fairs, identifying as a priority in strategic plans, as you mentioned. I think that's something we need to continue to think about. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is a very broad and important aspect of ensuring that we are meeting the needs of all of our students. As Ms. Motika mentioned, DEI and creating a place of belonging extends to all kinds of different things. I know more recently it includes things like ensuring that we are providing mental health services and making sure that students feel as prepared to learn as possible. To me, that's really the thing we need to be focused on, is creating the environment for our students, for our teachers, and for our staff to make sure that they know that they belong here at Kirkwood and that they're prepared to do their best.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to start with you this time, Ms. Motika. And I'm going to ask some yes or no questions, only because I have so many questions, and I've got 3 that I think you can do it. So, the first one is, do you believe in school vouchers for private schools?
No,
Ms. Neiman?
I also agree with no, just want to caveat that with not caveat, but explain a little bit.
Yes or no?
Okay, no.
Okay. Mr. Rowe?
School vouchers for private schools.
Yes or no?
I would say,
Yes or no?
I'm gonna say yes.
Okay, thank you. Second question. Yes. Ms. Motika, what's your answer to the first question? Now, here's the second question. I'm having trouble seeing too, so please forgive me. I'm getting new glasses at these. Pretty dark in here. Okay, the second question is, do you believe that the Bible should be displayed in classrooms or public buildings in Kirkwood District?
No. No.
Mr. Rowe?
Display, sorry. I'm having trouble.
Yes or no?
Do I believe that it should be displayed or can be displayed? Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. We're going to start with you this time, Ms. Neiman. And this is the last yes or no question. You're going to be very happy about this. That is, do you believe in the concept that the legislature is currently thinking about putting in place about open enrollment? Yes or no?
I don't know what that means.
Okay,
so-
let me explain. The open enrollment concept that is being considered on a number of Senate and House bills in the state legislature deals with the question of whether or not parents can decide, for example, if they're in Parkway, that they want to come to Kirkwood and that they have a right to do that. and we're past the desegregation period. So this is now being considered, it's called open enrollment. So if you could answer yes or no on that.
No.
Mr. Rowe?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, we got through those. But they're important. Next question. This is about DEI too, but I have to tell you, when you have 45 questions about DEI, they need to be honored and asked. This one deals with hiring. If the state legislature or the national government comes in and forbids DEI in terms of hiring and staff, how would you react? Would that affect your hiring, your mentoring, your affinity groups? Yes.
Again, having DEI, which is a word I hate, I'd rather say it out loud, diversity, equity, and inclusion. For hiring practices, it means everyone has an opportunity to apply. Everyone gets a voice. Everyone gets to be in the room where it happens, to quote Hamilton. And so we're hiring the best. We're just broadening the pool to make sure that everyone who doesn't necessarily look like Kirkwood applies. Because Kirkwood is a lot more diverse than sometimes you think. And so having a mentor who makes you feel welcome is important. We do that on the board. Every board member gets a mentor. It has nothing to do with some problem with DEI. And having affinity groups, stop, I follow the rules.
Ms. Neiman?
Yeah, I agree that as a school, we really need to focus on hiring the best teachers for the district and not discriminate against people. In fact, it's really been shown that when students see and are around staff and teachers that reflect them, that look like them, that they can relate to and connect with, regardless of what that means, they're more successful in the classroom. They're able to form bonds that help them focus on their education and maybe help get some support in various areas that they might be needing at that time. Kirkwood has worked really hard to create diversity in our educators, so I think that's something we'll want to make sure to continue to keep as a priority.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rowe?
Yeah, I think diverse workforce is the best workforce. So that should continue to be a strategic priority for the district. I think we should continue hiring the best teachers, hold them to the standards that we have for the best teachers, and maintain those that same level of accountability for the same standards across the board. But again, I believe in a diverse workforce for the district, just as I believe in a diverse district.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to take a deep breath. We're going to ask a specific, interesting question. And we are going to start with, I believe, Ms. Neiman, is that correct? Here we go. Illinois has decided that the start time for high school students is inappropriately early. And they cite much research that says that teenagers at this age need more sleep. What are your thoughts on this for Kirkwood High School?
Well, as the mom of a 14 or almost 15-year-old, I can certainly attest to the fact that teenagers do need a lot of sleep. They also apparently need a lot of food. Definitely understand the interest in the state looking to move in that direction. I do think it's important, though, that we consider a lot of different factors There is a calendaring committee that exists across the school district to help determine some of those types of policies and scheduling decisions. So I think we have to take into account a lot of different factors, not just the additional need for teenagers to more.
Mr. Rowe?
Yeah, so, I think, first and foremost, the needs of the student come first, but, it's also, I know, adjusting from work experience, adjusting schedules, for multiple entities, when it comes to, getting people to different locations, within certain timeframes, it can become a logistical nightmare. So I understand the dilemma here that the district faces, but I think it should all be framed through what's best for the students within the bounds of what the district can do for them.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Motika?
As someone who had teenagers and also taught high school classes that started at 7:50 a.m., I can attest that that's an early time for a lot of high schoolers. I think there's so many studies that have shown ways to do this. And actually, I know 2 districts around here, maybe Woodridge Heights and Webster Groves, who have flipped some of their start times. The elementary schools start earlier, the high schools start later. There's always a question about after-school activities, especially football, and sports practices, and all those things have to be taken into consideration. This is something that I would be very open to looking into. If it does serve students better and we can do it, and parents and teachers and everybody has a voice in the decision, I'd be very interested in that.
Okay, we're going to start with you this time, Mr. Rowe. There were a number of questions about discipline policies. And the question I think that best represents all of them is this. What are actions the school board could take using existing policies or by creating new ones to reduce academic and disciplinary disparities for students of color and students with disabilities?
So I think first figuring out where those disparities lie and addressing the policy where gaps exist. I think we have situations where those disparities exist. You have to work through some second and third order effects of changes in policy. So it's really important for anyone on the school board to be taking a serious look at what the implications are within those changes. But the first step is identifying where the disparity exists and then looking at policy options from there.
Okay, Ms. Motika?
This is something that as a board we get reports about this, and we look at them very closely, and it is a concern. A couple of the things the district is doing that have an impact and are designed to bring this disparity down for students of color and students without EPs is, as I referred to briefly before, the early warning system, where if a kid has a certain number of absences or late arrivals, missing some credits, the counselors, the support staff, the principals of the high school really swoop in and start looking at what is going on with this kid, maybe in September. Because a lot of the kids who are acting out in class are behind. And rather than show that they're behind, they don't know something, they're gonna act out. And so getting that under control earlier makes a huge difference.
And your time is up. Ms. Neiman?
Thanks. So my understanding is that there's been a lot of education of our educators over the last many years around trauma-informed care. So the idea that we can recognize behaviors, not just as the behaviors themselves, but also as all the background that comes along with what led to those behaviors. And so the district has adopted restorative practices as a form of discipline, which helps all of the people involved in a behavioral incident kind of come together and discuss what is happening, how it affected others, et cetera, and what they'll do about it. I think restorative practices can be a really effective form of discipline in some cases, but in other instances where restorative practices may not be possible, it is important for us to look at alternatives. And it is important for our teachers to be able to effectively manage a classroom. That's really important to creating an effective learning environment.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to start with you this time, Ms. Mutika. And this question is, students have very different lenses, as do their families, about the world and their own experience. How much say should parents have in curriculum?
Parents have all the control at home. And if, as a teacher, if a parent didn't like a book that I was teaching, that child didn't have to read that book. I would make a separate assignment for that child. But teachers and the way our curriculum is developed is an amazing process. It's a thoughtful process. Our teachers are incredibly well trained and educated. And just like I'm not going to tell the surgeon what scalpel to use just because I watched ER. Just because you went to school doesn't mean you know how curriculum is created, and it's for, not just for your child, it's for every child. So we need to trust, and there are parents on the curriculum committee, and there are teachers and there are students. I'll stop.
Ms. Needham.
I think the importance of the curriculum committee in developing lessons and materials that are valuable to all students is really important. So I'm glad that the community members, parents have a say and have a seat at the table in informing what happens in the curriculum. I do think that that is important because there are all kinds of different ways that we learn, all kinds of different backgrounds, as you mentioned. One thing that I do think is important is for us to make sure that we are incorporating those expectations and standards into the curriculum that's developed and ensure that we're delivering a rigorous set of lessons to our students.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rowe.
So every parent wants what's best for the child. We all agree on that. I think a crucial part of that is ensuring the parents have a meaningful role in their children's education. Parents want to know what their children are being taught, and I think that's perfectly reasonable. I think they have the right to observe and review materials, so transparency is paramount. And if they want the ability to supplement their child's education and to nurture their unique development, that's the right. And that includes their input into the development of the curriculum path if they choose to participate in some of those board-oriented forums. And of course, parents are the primary decision makers for their children. That's fundamental. So we just need to make sure that our schools are respecting that.
Your time's up. We're going to start with you this time, Ms. Neiman. We're going to talk about trans requests, trans students, faculty, staff. A number of questions want to know what Kirkwood should do about bathroom choice and also pronoun choice. So, you're first.
Yeah, thanks. So Kirkwood currently has an inclusivity policy, which is built into the district strategic plan. As a board member, I would be responsible for ensuring the safety of every student, including appropriate accommodations. Right now, every school has a single cell bathroom that can be used by any student. So whether the student has different abilities or they are transgender, they can use that restroom. In terms of pronouns, this is a area where, again, I would think we need to make sure that we're creating a place of belonging and recognition for our students. There is an opportunity for parents to weigh in when they're looking at Infinite Campus. So ultimately, the teachers and staff will use the names that are included in Infinite Campus, so that if they want to support their student in changing the student's name, they're able to do that.
Okay, Mr. Rowe.
I think every student deserves a safe and respectful learning environment, and we should promote a culture of understanding regarding bathroom policy, with balance the needs of all students while ensuring the privacy and safety of the individual students. And as different names of pronouns, which enable these situations with sensitivity and respect for the individual, while also acknowledging the importance of clear communication and parental involvement.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Botica.
We're all kind of agreeing here. Absolutely, we need to make kids and staff feel safe, feel welcome. And having gender neutral bathrooms is easy. We live with that a lot out in the world, and we need to make kids and staff feel safe. I can't say that enough. They need to feel respected. And using the proper pronoun choice of the individual is simply a sign of respect. And that respect for all has to permeate the district. When I've been asked about this before, and I said, maybe I'm completely wrong about this, but if I am, I'm going to err on the side of kindness and grace and respect.
Okay, thank you very much. Everybody got a chance to answer that, right? I believe then that we're going to start with you this time, Mr. Rowe, is that right? We're going to move to books. Okay? Do you believe that the school board should make decisions about what non-textbook books, so we're talking about school libraries from here. Do you believe that some books should be barred from district schools or restricted to certain age levels because of their viewpoints, discussion of sexual thoughts or acts, violence, different belief systems, et cetera, et cetera? So do you think that should happen and why?
So I think the role of the school board is representing the community's value. The role of the school board is representing the community's values, is to provide oversight, ensuring the curriculum and educational resources are most aligned with those values, and most importantly, are age appropriate. This isn't about limiting ideas, it's about responsible curation. It's about making sure that the materials our children are exposed to are consistent with standards we as a community hold dear. Our teachers are dedicated professionals, we trust them. However, the board has a duty to provide a framework and set guidelines that ensure materials are suitable for the developmental stage of our students. This process should always allow for transparency with opportunities for parental input and review. We want to encourage, obviously, critical thinking and a love for reading, while also protecting our children from content that is really not appropriate for their age.
Your time is up. Ms. Botica?
The board has a clear policy about how books are selected and chosen for the libraries. It has been in place for a long time. It's been followed for a long time. And parents can put blocks or limits on the very subject matter or books that their kids can check out in the library. So in that respect, the parent has all that control over what their child is exposed to. Where they don't have control is what anyone else's child is exposed to. And we are a diverse community, and what one family thinks is appropriate isn't necessarily going to be what another family thinks. And that's where the parents get to say about what their child can have access to in the library, but they don't get to say what my kid has access to.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Neiman.
I know this has been a sensitive topic in the last few years, and I'm really glad to see the district's process is really balancing the interests of individual needs with making sure that everyone's rights and interests are respected. Parents can prevent their own kids from checking out any book, but otherwise the school librarian determines what to include in the library, and they use a really solid vetting process that aligns with other school libraries. Of course, if a book is banned by law, librarians do not include them in the library. And if anyone, a student, a parent, or even a community member comes across any book that they don't think is appropriate for a school library, they can submit a request for that book to be reviewed. The process is quite involved, and it includes students, it includes teachers, families, and community members. And what I really like about it is they're actually required to read the entire book, and they identify what parts of that book may be deemed inappropriate and make a recommendation on how to handle that book. So to me, the current policy seems appropriate and is working the way that it should. If it needs to be evolved, we can consider that.
Okay, thank you. Everybody got a chance to answer that? We're going to start with you this time, Ms. Mochika. And we're nearing the end of our questions, just so you know. And I want to tell the group here that there are a number of questions that people ask that I think need to be addressed in your closing statements. So I'm just going to tell you some of what I've got. What is your best quality which will enable you to work well on the school district? Why did you want to run, although you certainly did address that in your opening statements? What do you think that you would be able to do, which is different, and even those of you who are now on the school board thinking about the next steps in this next term? What experiences have you had with the district which make you capable of holding this position? If that makes sense, I really do think they belong in that final statement. So here's the last question. And I'm sorry if I didn't get to everything, but I think we covered quite a bit, actually. The only employee that you really have on the school district is your superintendent. What do you think is the most important thing you can do as the employer of that superintendent? And the writer of the question is saying, be specific.
I will be specific. The most important thing, and it's true, the only employee the school board has is the superintendent. The most important thing we can do is hire the right person. And we did that in November. And then what we have to do is make sure that we are a team of 8. We are a board and we are a superintendent and we have the same goals and we have to get there together. We have to listen to each other, we have to be supportive, and we have to be able to challenge one another and talk and figure things out. As long as we have the same goal, which is what is best for the kids, what is going to grow our district, what is going to strengthen our district. And if you have trust in that relationship, you're going to be fine. And I'm very excited about our new superintendent. It was an incredibly rigorous process that we had in November of selection. You would be very proud.
Your time is up. Sorry. That's okay. Ms. Neiman.
I agree. I think the new superintendent, really looking forward to working with him and excited to be on the team. That team dynamic is really critical to making sure that there's effectiveness. A couple of some other leadership that's needed for this type of role is to be sure that there's clear guidance, but also authority on what the expectations are, providing clear communication, and then setting the stage for open dialogue so that there's a lot of feedback, a lot of trust and respect that happens. I think those are the key things that we can focus on with the superintendent.
Mr. Rowe.
So I think this starts with holding the new superintendent accountable, but even before that, in order to hold someone accountable, you have to establish clear goals and expectations. So I think the dynamics between the school board and the superintendent, the school board should be cooperative, supportive, set clear goals, and also provide the tools that Dr. Ruckus needs to accomplish those goals that the board is setting out for him.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to move to the final statements, and all of these candidates have very graciously agreed to do these in 1 minute, Matt, as opposed to 2. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't take that, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. So I'm just trying to deal with the time limits that I've got here. You know what? Everybody will stay 5 more minutes, right? Yay, okay, let's do 2. Is that right? I'm sorry. Let's start with you, sir.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were asking if I was okay with that. Okay. So, my commitment to you is simple. I'll prioritize safety, physical discipline, and a relentless focus on academic achievement. I believe in empowering our teachers, supporting parents, providing every student with the opportunity to reach their full potential. Going back to the questions that Kathleen framed for us. Let's see here. What is my best quality as a member of this board? I think this goes back to the diversity that we uphold for the district. I think a functioning board requires diversity, not just of personality, but of values. And I think it's working collaboratively and cooperatively as a diverse board with diverse opinions, but with the unifying objective of providing the best education possible for the students in our district. That's what produces a highly functioning board. So my commitment, my promise to anybody who votes for me is to be a collaborative and cooperative member of the board, promote those values that we want to provide the best possible education, the best environment for our teachers and our administrators, and really make improvements where we can and make sure that the board is achieving the highest levels of excellence that we can.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Mealy.
Well, I appreciate the extra minute to talk about my best qualities. With all the issues and the activities and events that we talked about today, it's really clear that a strong and dynamic board is crucial to our children's future and the power and unity of our Kirkwood community. We need an experienced leader to join the board that has relevant skills, knowledge of the district, and commitment to the area. With my strong public policy background, my role as a lawyer, my role as a Kirkwood alum, and even as a mom, I can bring those qualities to the role. Perhaps more importantly, I am also dedicated to working as a team with the other board members, with the administrators, with educators, students, and families. And as a good partner, I will challenge the status quo, strive for continuous improvement, and also really hone what I think is one of my strongest qualities is really being a bridge builder. And in order to be a bridge builder, it's important that we listen, it's important that we learn, that we stay humble, that we share ideas, that we reach out and push on concerns that we hear about. And I will share both in our challenges that our district faces, that we will inevitably face, and the triumphs that no doubt we will face as we are Kirkwood. Thank you again to the League of Women Voters, and I also want to express my gratitude to my fellow board candidates, Ryan and Judy. I know you both are very dedicated members of the Kirkwood community. So thanks so much, and I humbly ask for your vote on April 8th.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Modena.
Well, thank you all for coming out tonight. This election is important, and your vote matters. And we've had an important discussion tonight. We talked about some big issues. And so I want to make my priorities really clear. We need to serve all of our students by ensuring their needs are met, recognizing their strengths, and helping them achieve their goals. We need to develop a new 5-year strategic plan that will guide our district with integrity, innovation, aspiration, and all while building on our already strong academic foundation. And we need to listen to one another and work together as our district moves forward. In my 3 years on the board, I served in many roles, and I'm currently the vice president. I want to continue working with my fellow board members to ensure each child reaches his or her full potential. We recruit and retain the very best teachers, and we never forget that our kids are our future. And we must always keep their needs, academic, social, emotional, personal, in the forefront of every decision we make. It has been an honor to serve on the board these past 3 years, and I hope I've earned your support for another term, and that on April 8th, you'll cast a vote for Judy Monica. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's give them all a round of applause. And I thank the candidates for participating. I thank the school district, and I thank you for your generosity of spirit. Because I was trying to honor the school district's request no more than an hour. Then I got almost 70 questions, and so I was trying to balance all of these things, but I think we talked about a lot in this hour. I want to thank you for making it a successful event, because these were your questions. And I want to thank all of the volunteers for the League of Women Voters. If you could raise your hands. I want you to know that we had so much demand for election services that this time around, we're doing 27 candidate forums. We are putting out the voter's guide, which is live as of today. We are distributing almost 15,000 of those to 6 counties. We're worried about people not voting, and so this is a postcard packet. We're sending out 2,800 of those right now to the lowest voting precincts in St. Louis County and St. Louis City, and we do this with all volunteers. If you found this forum to be useful and our work to be useful, think about joining us by becoming a member. We can use your hands and your brains and your heart. Or make a modest donation if you appreciate our work. We want to educate voters, and there is no more important time than the world we're living in right now, the country we're living in, the state we're living in, the community we're living in, to make democracy ours. We have literature and volunteers out there who can talk to you about this, and you can learn about the candidates and ballot issues by consulting the voter's guide at vote411.org. You just put in your address, up pops just your ballot. The print version is going to be printed on March the 20th, and the Post-Dispatch Plus will bring thousands of these to your community, including the libraries, senior centers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You can register today or change your address until midnight. Okay, if you haven't done that, and just get on the Secretary of State's website and you can do that. You can no excuse absentee vote beginning on Tuesday the 25th at the Daniel Boone, Grand Glades, Mid-County Library branches, the Board of Elections, the North County Rec Complex, and at UMSL. And remember, you can vote anywhere and on election day as well. And the polls will be open from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. Remember, this time around, you will need a government-issued photo voter ID. If you need additional information, you can call the St. Louis Board of Elections, or, because they'll just tell you to call us, I can tell you how this goes. Or call the League of Women Voters at 314-961-6869. There's some very interesting things on the ballot, particularly especially for those of you in St. Louis County. There is a county-wide change in charter called Proposition B that I urge you to educate yourself about. So thank you very much. We hope this was helpful. Thank you for coming.
Civically involved.